Boy, I know someone that must be happy, 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 happy.
I didn't want to. I
Wait,
didn't want to.
this is Youth Central Sports with the happy Coach Carter, the happy original Coach Carter. Um, see, you should be wearing your blue, man. You should be wearing your powdered
Listen,
blue, your powdered blue. You know.
I didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want to overdo it. But if you give me a minute, I get my hat and let
Yeah.
me change into shirt. No, well, I just proud of those
Right.
Tar
Well,
Heels, man.
Well,
Those
for
are my
people who
guys.
don't know, well, first of all, I'm Charles Morse, Youth Central Sports, where we come to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. He is a big North Carolina Tar Heel fan, and
Basketball.
it's 2 minutes and 44 seconds to go here in North Carolina. They're playing at Duke, and the
Duke in
score is
Cameron Indoor
67-80.
Arena.
Huh?
Yes, it at Cameron Indoor
Right,
in
right.
Durham
And
on the
and
home court, number one
and if
team in the
anybody
nation.
know anything about rivalries, college basketball, this is one of the biggest and rivalries ever when it comes to sports. So, with that being said, I wanted to ask you, uh,
Let me
coaching.
make this statement though. Let me just
Okay,
say
okay,
this. While this is one of the top rivals in the country, and ticket sales are second only to the Super Bowl, and Carolina is I'm excited about them being up. This is the type of game you cannot celebrate until the last whistle is blown and the horn is blown. Yes, it's up. We're up a lot right now, but it's 2 minutes 44 seconds. That's a long time. That's an awful long time. I have learned not to celebrate too soon. They're playing well, but
yeah,
you
yeah,
are
like
playing
that turnover right
them.
there, right?
Well. Not only that, but you got to look at what happened to Louisville. Louisville was up by 23 now with a lot more time than is on the clock right now. So you got to be cautious, and it's a lot of game yet to be played. But I believe in them Tar Heels, though.
Now,
I believe in them Tar Heels.
now they were talking, and wanted to say that at the time they said that Duke had 19 turnovers, but both of these teams have turned the ball over this game. I mean,
Yeah,
I know the turnovers are high for North Carolina, but I don't know if this is one of these things where when those teams play, all the statistics just go out the window anyway.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, they could have the worst records in the world and not be number one and number eight. They could be any number they want to. It's just an automatic rival. It's like it's one against two. It doesn't make any difference at all. And I do think Zion not playing does have an impact on the game to how much, whatever the points he possibly could have scored. But Carolina's playing some inspired basketball right now. They're controlling the boards. Let's say it like it is. You brought your best, I brought my best, and there it is. So the outcome being the same. Hopefully the young man I wish him well. Hopefully he'll be prepared, able to play in the next game in a couple of weeks down in Chapel Hill. Amazing, 33 seconds. I'm kind of like Jay Billis. I've seen a lot of basketball. I've never seen the guy come out of shoe like that. That says a lot for the shoe company. Now they want exposure. They want to they just got exposure.
Wow. Now, what I wanted to ask you was, have you coached, do you remember coaching a team where your star player went down, and how do you have a remembrance of how the team responded, good or bad?
I've had a couple of those situations. In fact, I'm in a situation like that now that we're coaching. One of our best players is no longer a part of the team. So what has happened is the players had to come to the realization that he's not going to be there. And they were fortunate enough before he was permanently not going to be there. He missed some games and they were able to win. And I think that was very important for them. We won this summer when we played our summer camp. We were missing three of our starters, and this particular individual that we lost was not playing there as well. So it's a matter of building confidence, continuing to coach hard. Next man up. Everybody will tell you that. that you miss one, the next guy steps up. You plan for that, you coach for that, you encourage for that, and that's what we have done. That's what we're doing now. Next man up, and we've been able to get some inspired play. We were able to win in our semi-district game. We win the district championship. We lost that game the other night, very hard, by 9 points against a team that they were number one and we were number two. The good thing about that is we will still be playing in the regionals because the top four teams move on, and we were able to move on. So we've got two games coming up this week for the regionals. We win those two games. We got one in sub-state, and then we're at the state tournament. So a lot to play for. Disappointed that we couldn't win the district championship, but as I said to the team, that was not our destination anyway. That was a perk, and toward the destination is to get to the state tournament. So we're still on track. We regrouped, had a good practice today, light practice today, gonna get after the next 2 days, and we put it on the floor again on Saturday. So yeah, I've been there and I'm there now. And you have to show confidence, you have to show a resiliency, and you have to get out there and get it done.
Oh, okay. It's obvious that Duke is going to lose this game, uh, which means that they're going to fall out of the number one because they're ranked number one, right? Because they're
Yeah, they just took over because of Tennessee's loss to Louisville. No, no, Kentucky. Kentucky
yeah,
beat
yeah, 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 yeah.
beat Tennessee, and they took the number one. So now they have it, but they'll drop out. You look at the score now; it's 70. Happening, especially at this level of basketball. So you're encouraged on both sides. If you're trying to climb that ladder, you go out and play opportunities. Play aggressively, play the clock, play the timeout, play the shooting foul. If you're
So
ahead and you're
now,
trying to
now
protect that
when
lead,
you
the
when
clock
you
is out.
lose one of your top players, let's just say during the game, not necessarily in practice, but what is it? And it's kind of hard, I guess, to I guess to put yourself in that situation because every situation is different, every game is different, and depending on
Right.
who you're playing, so on and so forth. But
Mhm.
sometimes emotions run high. Sometimes uh, they're so maybe dependent on this particular player. Do you
Right.
find, or have you found that sometimes the players really not understanding what needs to happen at that time by the next player up? Is that a difficult task for them to really understand what that means?
In some cases, I think it is. There are some situations, particularly if all your team success has been involved by this one individual. When that individual is not there, it leaves a huge gap, and nobody's prepared to step up. And you're encouraging everybody to do that, but they feel that sense of loss when they are able to win without them. Previous to them gone, it really helps and builds their confidence. They understand their role. They step in it. They do what they have to do. I do believe you have to prepare for that in advance. I think you practice that way. You always look at your rotation. You always encourage this other guy. That second team gets as much practice, as much ball, as much coaching as the first group. Just for situations like that, you're trying to help them mature and prepare for it. You hope it never happens, but sometimes it does. It could be foul problems, it could be injury, it could be whatever. So you want to try to get them prepared. If you don't do that, sometimes it's too overwhelming for a younger player, especially if he's not been groomed. When you've got good talent across the board, they're itching for that opportunity to step up and play. So I've seen it on both sides. I've been in a situation where the hole was too big to fill. We just couldn't get back. We were playing well, but not well enough to win because they were so dependent on that. And right now, I'm experiencing on the other side where everybody's stepping in, putting their best foot forward, trying to go to the next level. So I can actually say I've seen it both ways.
Now, I didn't ask you what was the weather like. What's the weather like there in Tennessee?
Well, we're facing some cold temperatures, but really a lot of rain, flood warnings. In fact, we got out of school today an hour early. We are now waiting to see will we be able to go to school tomorrow. The temperature is not that bad. It's in the 30s and 40s, but it's the rain. It's been raining constantly. We're going to get some rain later on tonight, thunder showers tomorrow. So a lot of the creeks and rivers, they are close to flooding, which could create a problem for buses getting to pick kids up back and forth to school. So that's tough for us right now. So I mean, I was glad to get out of a day, a couple of hours, an hour so early. I would love to be off tomorrow, but it's an unsafe situation because there, a lot of things could happen. Homes could be affected. Kids getting back and forth to school that don't ride the bus in their own personal vehicles, concerned about their safety. So we're experiencing that. We have forecasts for snow late February, early March, which would be a very interesting situation as well. So we're faced with typical weather right now. We're not as cold as our brothers and sisters up north of us, but it's cold here. But more importantly, now we got this wet rain that's coming at us. And right now, it just stopped raining about 2 hours ago, but we're supposed to pick up more rain in about another 2 or 3 hours. It's going to start raining. We got thunderstorms coming. So it's bad weather, but all in all, it's not bad.
You, Vince, it's been very quiet, but and we haven't talked about it in a while. But have you heard anything about the FBI report in the NCAA? Have you heard anything?
Yes, they are still investing. What they're doing, and I believe personally, one of the reasons you haven't heard much about it is that they're getting a lot of the lower level people right now. They're getting a lot of assistant coaches, not number one assistants, number two. They're getting that number three assistant, and because they just picked up a couple of people last week. They're still moving at it. They're slowly and meticulously going through, and they're going to have this major hit here, I believe, very soon. Everything that I've read say they're very active, and what they're doing, they're deal making right now. They're slapping people on the hand, saying, "I have you, but what can you give me? When you want to make a deal, why don't you come to me before I come to you?" And so a lot of people are starting to talk, and that happening now. They're taking, they're beginning to decide what they're going to do next. So it's still very active, very, very, very active.
Hmm. Yeah. I was saying, we haven't talked about it in a while, and I haven't seen anything in the news, and
Mhm.
they've been very slow, and I guess they're doing what they're doing, but they're taking their time.
I think part of that has to do with where we are in the season. I think, this is, excuse me, this is something that's been going on for a long time. We all know that. And it took a long time to get it that way. It's going to take a while to dismantle it as well. And what they're doing is making sure they tie off loose ends. They really get down to the people that decision makers, if you will, what's going on. Really tapping the right people and getting it right. I hope that's the method that they're using. They don't communicate with the NCAA because the FBI clearly said they don't trust the NCAA as well. So that slows it down, and hopefully they're getting cooperation. My understanding is that they are, but they've got wiretap. They got people. They've already got a couple of guys. They just haven't picked them up yet. And why, I don't know that, but they've got solid evidence. So it's still going. It's still going on. It's slow. Wow, that's
Um,
my Duke calling you now. Make his apology. Yeah, he's calling now. I apologize to our viewers. I do apologize, but that was a bet that we had that no matter what, he was going to give me. I would be calling him, or he would be calling me. And
right.
as you can see, he's calling me. And I got a
You-
friend out there in California. I'm looking to hear from him shortly.
oh, well, you know what, Vince? You should invite those guys to come on the show, man, because I would love to talk,
Or
talk
listen,
to them. Really,
you know what?
you
That's
know
a
what?
great idea.
And now,
That's a great idea because they are hard nosed. As much of a Carolina fan as I am, and these guys are Duke fans. And one of these guys, we met there in Orlando at the Orlando Ale House up on Hiawassee. And we've been friends for I can't tell you how many. Well, that's been at least 10 years at minimum. And no matter where he's moved in the country, no matter where I have moved in the country, we communicate at this date. There's 2 dates we talk about. Now we might hit and miss it, but we're gonna get this date, Carolina at Duke, and Duke at Carolina. I will hear from him, guaranteed. He's gonna text me later tonight or sometime. He's gonna hit me. Uh, but it would be great to get them in to hear their passion for the Duke Blue Devils, and of course, and I get a chance to share mine for the Carolina Tar Heels. But they're great guys. I mean, we agree on so many other things, with the exception of Duke Carolina. That's where we part company. Ironically, that's also how we met.
Right.
I met both of them. My buddy in California, we met watching a Duke Carolina game, and he had on a Duke shirt and I had on a Carolina hat, and it just made for an automatic uh, division. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and he said, "You can't be," and I said, "I just can't believe you are." And from there it was. And my other
Now,
friend, there's one
now,
here
what's
right
funny is
here.
that I dated this girl that went to North Carolina, right?
Hmm.
And she's not necessarily. I mean, she's not necessarily a sports fan, but she watches
Hmm.
sports and she watches North Carolina. Da 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 da. And it
Hmm.
was funny because I said something about Duke, and she looked at me, and it was funny because I wasn't expecting it. You know what I'm saying? Because then she said, "Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh,
are you a Dookie fan?" I was like, "Whoa, whoa, okay. Did I just touch a nerve or something?"
yeah.
So I can tell that it's real. It's real.
Listen, Charles. I had a kid that I was coaching, and he had 5 schools or 6 schools. He was attempting or had opportunity to attend, and Carolina was one. And while that decision, I really had nothing to do with that decision because it's all about him and his family. He did come to me and say, "Well, Coach, what you think?" I said, "Listen, I'll always be a fan of yours, but it's one stipulation." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "If you go to Duke, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to root for you." And he just started laughing. He said, "Coach, you got?" I said, "You know what?" I said, "I'll make an exception for you. I'll make this exception." I said, "But I can't root for you long." But I said, "Now when you play Carolina, I gotta go against you." And he thought that was so funny. He ended up going to Duke, as a matter of fact. He didn't really play any ball, but he did go to
Right,
Duke as a student, and we still to this day he'll text me and we'll go back and forth about that. But it's real, Charles. There's no. I mean, I'm a part of it. I try to look at. I really had a strong dislike for Coach K. Had a chance to be in his presence. I've had a little bit of interaction with him. Didn't like him. Still not a big fan of his, but I have learned to appreciate his basketball. I really, really, the more I started coaching and so really trying to take coaching seriously and to be the best I could be at it and continue to grow and continue to learn, which I am. I'm still growing and I'm still learning. Got a lot more to learn. I've got a great appreciation for what he does with his basketball. Not a fan of his. Okay, don't like him, but I do have a great appreciation. I cannot deny his X's and O's and what he gets done on the court. So for that, I owe him that, just as a master of his craft, one of the best out there, but not one of my favorites.
yeah. Now, I grew up in. I mean, I'm from Jacksonville, and
Hmm.
back in I haven't lived in Jacksonville for a very long time, and I don't know if it's what it used to be, but I know what it used to be.
Hmm.
There's a Reigns and there's a
Oh
Reebok.
yeah, yeah, oh
Okay,
yeah, oh yeah. Bernard Wilkes
now,
used to be a coach there.
right,
Where I went to school with Bernard.
right.
He and
Now,
I went to Charles University.
Reigns and Reebok is closer than what North Carolina and Duke. And
Yeah,
back in those days, your neighbor, the person right next door to you, could go to Reigns and you can go to Reebok, or vice versa.
oh, oh yeah,
And
oh
when I
yeah, oh
tell
yeah.
you a rivalry among rivalries, because everything is right there in the neighborhood with a bunch of
Yeah.
great athletes, and I don't
Hmm.
care if they were playing tennis, golf, tiddlywink, whatever it is.
Yeah, I've been
it,
there.
it's
I mean,
it
like
it is
I
gonna
said,
be a showdown. And as much as it
I went.
was a basketball
I went to
football
school.
rivalry, Vince,
Right, right. I
man,
know
there
about
was
that.
nothing like a
100%.
range Reebok track meet. It's
One of my
on. It was
colleagues
on.
went was
Seriously.
when I attended school was from that area. He went back there and became a legendary coach there, Bernard Wilkes, and Bernard was in. I think it was. I think it was Reebok. Rain, maybe might have been Rain. Had looked up in the state championship. He was in there several times. He has run up, so he's won. He's been a heck of a guy, number one, but really turned out some great basketball teams. And he used to, when we were in college together, I was on the football team. He was on the basketball team. He used to talk about those rivalries. I had another friend of mine I went back to Florida from Carolina, out of North Carolina, had a chance to actually go talk to some people who were participating in that thing. So I really got a I wanted to go to a game so bad, never had a chance to get to one, but I've lived it through both sides of the court.
Hmm.
So this is primarily basketball uh, from both schools, and it's rich for a high school, man. It's like in Orlando, you used to have Boone Edgewater, and that was a huge rivalry. So much so that they would sneak on each other's campuses the night before and do a little vandalism. That's how much of a rivalry it was. I had a chance to participate in two of those games as a coach. Unbelievable atmosphere. You've seen a tape of our rivalry game here. In fact, the team that we lost to in the state, in the district, was our number one rival. They were ranked number one. We were ranked number two. It was a heck of a game. We got behind early. And the end of the first half, we were down. We came and they jumped out to a 20-point lead on us, and we fought our way back I think we got it down to 7 points. Had a very controversial call. They could have given us a 5-point lead, a 5-point deficit, as but turned into another 2 points. We ended up losing by 9, but it was a very entertaining game. It was passion out there. We just didn't get off to a good start. But I understand rivalry in the gym, and we were on a neutral floor. Gym was packed. And you would have thought we were in one of our home gyms. So rivalry is real. It's very, very real. But it's exciting too, man. I tell you,
Yeah.
it's some exciting. Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, tiddlywinks, whatever, is when you look across and you see that other jersey, man. I get excited myself. I
Yeah,
actually get excited myself.
that's just like Cookman and Sam, man,
And
because
A&M.
here,
Right.
people, everyone knows about the Duke and North Carolina rivalry, but when you grow up in it, when you see the Reigns and the Reebok, when
Oh
you
yeah.
see the Cookman and the fam, man,
Hmm.
it's something special. But and the thing is, this really slipped my mind because I had talked about this like a year ago, and that is with the Reigns and the Reebok, there were the Gaffneys, and I actually knew know Warren personally. We used to play ball, and Warren is from the old neighborhood where my mom lived before they moved over and to the neighborhood of the Reigns. They used to live over in my old neighborhood, and that's where I knew Warren from back when I was a little kid. Well, there's a little history there because one of their older brothers, Don. Now, think about this, Vince. Think about,
Hmm.
and we know what football is to the Florida Gators.
Yes.
Think
Yeah.
about this brother being a starting quarterback back in the day when there was no black starting quarterbacks,
Hmm.
and he was one of the first. So
Yep.
there was a big thing about that when Don Gaffney went to the Florida Gators, and I
Hmm.
had talked to his brother Facebook and say, hey, I wanted to ask him on the show, but I didn't follow through on it, and he said that he think that Don would be excited about coming on the show because I would love to talk to him and what was it like back then in the '70s, starting for the Florida Gators because he went through a little something something.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Well, again, we talk about this all the time, and I think as true sports fans, sometimes it's overlooked. Sports is a reflection of life. It's real life. It's the differences that we have sometimes are masked, sometimes mirrored, but sometimes covered for the sake of sport, for the sake of winning, for the sake of team play. We may not like each other, but we do understand that it's important that we work together to achieve a goal. The military is very good about that. You and I had a chance to meet the principal players in the remember the Titans, and having talked to those guys, and that's a true story about how differences they may have felt about each other and about the race card and all of those factors and differences in philosophy and game style. It was more important that we win. And sometimes, and that's why I think sport is a great. There's only two things. No, I won't say that, but I'll say there are two primary things I think that bring people together. It's music and sport, because we'll sacrifice no matter what for a great sound or a great act or a great performance. Same thing we'll do on the sport in the sports field for a win or a great competitive effort. We put away our differences. Even guys that we don't like, we play with, we depend on them for that time period. Now after the game, we may not talk anymore, but when you toss that ball or throw it or kick it or whatever your sport may be, it brings us together because we know how important team play is. And that's what I love about sport. It mirrors life. It teaches us so much. If we really, really, really look at sport, really get deep into sport, it's a reflection of life. It teaches us relationships. It teaches us management skills. It teaches us how to work cohesively together, how to achieve goals, how to win and how to lose, how to be resilient in our comeback. Sport offers all of that, and many, many times I think we don't see that because we see it strictly as a competition or win loss. It took me a long time to understand you can win a lot. You can learn a lot from losing. You really can really pick yourself up from losing. You can really find out a lot about yourself and correct. So it's not as bad. I mean, it hurts when you lose, especially in those rivalry games. But there's so much to learn from that. And I think over time you kind of get that perspective, and that's life. So sport is, I just think sport is so crucial for us because it teaches kids how to get along with each other, how to depend on each other,
Well,
very much how to work.
that's what Youth Central Sports about. That's what we talk about, and what sports is and how it can be used in a positive way. But we also want
Hmm.
to acknowledge how it can be used, and it can be something negative if it's not the right environment with the right people.
Yeah, that's important too. I think coaching, for looking at it from a coaching standpoint, I'm very familiar with what it's like to be an athlete. I've tried that. I've tried that. Now I'm trying the other side of that as a coach. And what I find is sometimes you can look at kids and see the reflection of their coaching. Looking at, I've interacted with kids and I've met some kids and I have said to myself, I would certainly like, in the back of my mind, I'd like to meet your coach because some of the things that you're doing out here, the attitude and behaviors and the skill level you're showing me, I need to meet your coach. And that could be positive or negative, but
Right.
those kids
Yeah,
are reflective
because
of the
some of the
coach.
stuff I see during the games over the past year, over some years, and I'm looking, and I'd be like, there's no way that I could be coaching that team, and I'm looking at that behavior. There's no way on God's green earth, and I'm looking at the coach, I'm sitting there puzzled, and like it's like, no way,
Well,
you know.
the coaching environment today, and this is verified through many, it's been documented. It's so different now. The athlete is different, but more important than that, it's the attitude of administration, parents, and how that's being handled that I think has made it even more complicated to coach your team. It also opens up a can of worms about the kid. He or she, if they choose to go opposite of what you want them to do, they get support from that. There's support for them to be opposite of you. Where in the past, when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. We may not have agreed with the coach. My mom may not have liked what the coach did, but she said, "Hey, that's the coach."
Exactly.
And she actually knew a
It,
little bit about
it's
about the
called,
game itself. But
Vince, it's called respect. It's
well,
called
that too.
respect.
But what you have now, respect is not theirs. It's people who have touched a little bit of the game. They think they know it better than the person out there. You can relate to this, and I hope some of the people listening to us could relate to that. It's one thing to look at a team on the floor and say, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this. And you might very well be right in your decision. But it's a whole total different to get kids to buy into that, to be able to execute that same thought. That's what coaching is about. I'm going to show you a game plan. I'm going to give this is we're going to do this when he turns right. We're going to do this when he turns left. Then you got to give it to that kid, put him or her on the floor, and assume and hope that they will execute according to the way that we talked about it. Doesn't always happen like that.
Right.
So that's the difference. I mean, I've looked at team on the floor myself and said I'd like to do something, but that's not what we taught them to do. That's not who they are. They can't do that. I, Perfect example. I had a team, AAU, YBOA team that was one heck of a pressing team. These guys love to run and press. They take that ball and run up and down the floor, and then they want to press up and down the floor. And I had them for 3 years, and we were just hard to beat. That fourth year, I got another team. I tried to do the exact same thing. I thought it was a great formula. Partly my fault being a naive coach, but it worked. Why wouldn't we do it? Well, the reason it didn't work is because of different kinds of kids. That's not what they did well. They didn't run well. They didn't full court press well. What I turned out to be, they turned out to be a half court team. I had to adjust, find what they did well, what was the strength of our team, and that's where I had to go. Consequently, you're constantly changing. It's not changing my philosophy, but it's adapting to what they can actually do and build around that. And if they're a half court zone team, guess what? That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have some man to man, but we're gonna concentrate on our strength. So a lot of times that's what happens. So it's so easy to second guess coaches. And I'm a coach myself, and I second guess a lot of people, and I laugh a lot of times when I do that because I'm saying, but I know it's not that easy because if it was that easy, he'd be doing it. So it's hard. It's hard. And at time parents they have unrealistic. There's a quote I saw on Facebook that talked about a parent sees a kid as an individual, a coach sees him as a part of a team. That sums this up in a nutshell. And I have shared that with so many coaches, and they all come back and say, "Hey, I've been there, I've been there, I've been there, I've been there, I've been there." So that kind of sums it up. Parents see him or her as an individual superstar, and the coach see them as a part of a team. Big difference.
Uh, Earlier, when I was talking about the Reigns and the Reebok and talking about the Gaffneys, but there's also a gentleman that I would love to interview that I haven't heard from. Well, I kind of followed him a little bit when he went to the NFL. But Vince, there was a young man that played for Reigns, and his name was Terry LeCount. Okay, Terry LeCount played quarterback for Reigns. And I would love to ask him this question because when he went to college, he didn't play quarterback. He played wide receiver. Then when he went to the Minnesota Vikings, he was a wide receiver. But his skill level was such that he was such a good quarterback. And I know it that at those day in those days, I know that they were trying to tell him, you should play this position. Now, Vince, not only was he a good quarterback when he played at Reigns, but this dude, man, he ran like a 9.500, but he had the best time in the state in the 440. And
Mm-hmm.
I just knew this brother was go and run track, for Florida, go and run in the Olympics. And all these years, I've wanted to ask him, why did you give up track? Because he was just that good. I mean, I used to go to watch all of their track meets just to go watch that brother run. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's another one that I'm going to see if I can get a hold of because he would be a great interview to ask. Like, if he played quarterback now, I guarantee you when he left high school, he would still be playing quarterback. But back then, they probably said, hey, you know what? We want you to go over here and play wide receiver. But he was too good of a quarterback to be playing wide receiver. But I would love to ask that question for him to tell that story. But he did go to the Vikings and was a wide receiver for the Vikings for a while, and I think he got hurt and ended his career early, but I think he played for maybe about like between 4 to 5 years as a Viking wide receiver.
Those decisions sometimes are perplexing at times, but when you really get a chance to hear it and understand that sometimes kids have natural abilities. And while that's something that comes natural to them, it's not something that they like. They perceive, I have had a couple of young men that I've had a chance to interact with who were a gifted athlete in a particular sport, but didn't like the sport. Really wanted to be, and one kid was a gifted baseball player, but he didn't like baseball. He liked playing football, but he was a gifted. He worked really hard to be a football player and turned out to be a good one, but he had no effort in being a baseball player. He just didn't like baseball. And people tried to convince him to play the game. And he played it, but he didn't play it with the same passion as he played the football. And the reason was it came so easy for him. So he felt like, I shouldn't be here. And later on, he did play both for a while, but he really was in love with football. I've seen it on the other side where a kid was in love with basketball, but he was a football player. He finally convinced him to play football for a while, just go out and try it. And it went well for him. And then he gave up basketball. So a lot of times, I think the story is important to hear from the athlete himself. My experience has said sometimes that they just don't, that gift. I had a friend of mine who was a gifted artist who never thought it was anything. He thought everybody drew like that. He could just pick up a pen and just I mean, detail. I mean, a fantastic artist. And nothing. He didn't think it was anything special when he
Right.
had a very, very unique. You remember, you used to see on those little match folders,
Right.
draw these pictures in. So
Right.
we convinced him to do that. They called that boy for a month. They were so amazed at the detail of his drawing, and he wouldn't answer. He would not answer. I mean, he drew that thing even better than it was printed on the paper. He gave it
Wow.
more. He brought it to life. And
Right.
Charles, he did this and didn't care.
Right.
It was
It,
just
it
it
was it
just
was it
came
was
natural.
it was such a natural gift to him that
It was just it
he
was a gift. It
probably
was a
thought
God-given
everybody
gift.
can do what he
He
does.
did. He did. He was a young. He We were in high school together when this happened, and it was about 10 to 15 years later. I ran into him. We were both traveling someplace, and I walked up on him, and 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 we recognized each other. And we started talking, and I asked him what he was doing. He had become a commercial artist, and I was so excited for him. And
He
he
finally figured
wasn't
it out.
he was not as excited about it as I was,
Right.
because to him he didn't see anything special about it. It's a job. And I'm like, no, yeah, it is, but you got a talent for that thing. And then we start trying to push him to Disney to be a character drawer, that kind of stuff. But it just didn't dawn. But now eventually, somewhere down the line, it kind of got his interest. He was disappointed in some other career activities that he had, and he just kind of went back to this, and it's his fallback, and it ended up being his career, and he actually enjoyed it. But he still always wanted to be a football player. In his heart is hard to this day. He would give up that God-given talent to go play football. But it was such a gift. I think now he's close to my age, if not older, and he's realized now that's a God-given gift, because he's had
Right.
no training, no, just picked up a pencil and started drawing. And I've seen it. I've seen it in musicians. I've seen it in singers,
Right.
guys who are able to play instrument that can't read and couldn't read a note, but just start playing.
I know.
And then you
I
let
know.
you know.
I've
I mean,
seen
it's
it.
just it's that gift, man. And so um, I hear that a lot. I hear that. I see Mike Miller, who used to play for the Magic, was a football player, and he tried out for Georgia Tech, and at the time Crimmins was there, and he told me he couldn't play for him. He went back and perfected his basketball game and became an NBA player. Daryl
Right.
Armstrong was a field goal kicker for football. The only reason the guy invited him out is because of his hard and hustle, and that became his signature in the NBA. But that was not his first love. It was because someone invited him, They insulted Mike Miller to the point now he's a college coach. He's here at the Memphis, coaching with Penny Hardaway, after having an NBA career. So
Right.
the world of sport is amazing when you think about the amount of talent that's out there. And let me tell you this too, Charles. I'm experiencing this now, and I've had a little bit. Special Olympics. This tremendous talent there. These kids have their other disabilities and whatever they may have, but some of those kids are gifted. And when it comes to athletics, I got a young man that I'm associated with. In fact, he was our team mascot. He has a disability. There's no question about that. This young man can remember stats, can play any sport, basketball, football, tennis, you name it, he gets it done. He has he's a Down syndrome kid. He's grown now though. He's almost 23 years old. Tremendous athlete. Tremendous athlete. Competes very hard. Soccer. We whatever you do with him, a tremendous athlete. He has these other disabilities, but if you saw him play, you would never ever suspect that he's a disabled individual. So the world of sport is amazing, man. It's absolutely it's some heartwarming stories, some heartbreaking stories out there, but it's a whole lot of heartwarming stories in the world of sport.
Listen, let me ask you: have you heard? Did you see where Antonio Brown went and talked with the Steelers, and they both agreed that it's time for him to move on? Did you see that
Oh
story?
yeah, yeah. I saw. I didn't read the whole thing because I agree with the concept of it all. That was a foregone conclusion in my mind. I mean, not that I'm smarter than those guys, but I just thought that given the fact of the the history that they had, that it couldn't be repaired. The opportunity to repair that had passed, in my opinion. And so it's probably, and with the one thing I think is good for is that they can part company. They can sit down and have a conversation and agree to part
Right.
company. You know,
Yeah.
and I think just like Des Bryant now, he's a little bitter about it, but they did sit down with Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, and they had that conversation, and they found out they couldn't. I guess they couldn't work it out, so they agreed to part. But he's still bitter about it. But and I'm not saying he's not justified because I don't know. I wasn't at the conversation, nor have I read about it. But I do think when we sit across from one another, we get a chance to express ourselves, and hopefully, in doing that, we either come to an agreement that we can go forward, or we come to an agreement that we can't go forward. And once you do that, I would like to see us part company and just go our way. But obviously, that's not always the case.
What was on my list last week, and I overlooked it, and that was Flacco to Denver, and I wanted to ask you what you thought about that.
Interesting. That's interesting. Um, that that's going to have to play itself out, obviously. But that sounds very interesting, given what Denver needed. You know, the NFL. I think you're going to find it very interesting this coming season. A lot of changes and a lot of moves are being made, coaching moves, player moves. That's a very interesting one for me. I'm interested to see what happens from the team he left. He left the Ravens, right? Uh,
Hmm.
uh, and I want to see what they brought in to fill that spot because I know it was
Jackson,
probably the best thing for him though. Overall, probably a good move.
did you think that you would see somebody sign a 10-year, $300 million contract, Vince? 10
Honestly,
years,
honestly, no,
300
no,
million.
no, I didn't. No, I
Huh?
didn't. I'm. Well, you look at what Magic Johnson did. He had 25 million for 25 years, which at that time sound like it was unrealistic compared to this is nothing. Uh, I thought we had hit the max when he did it. I thought we might see 25 years, a little bit more money, maybe. But in essence, this is the pressure of being that kind of a signing player, having to go out and perform, being paid that kind of money, because you're definitely under a microscope every day. Every day that you perform, you're being looked at. That's huge. I mean, you got financial security, but in my mind, you got a lot of pressure on you as well.
But I mean, I mean that could be pressure, but it could be one of those things where his personality could be, well, you know, I didn't sign my contract. I go out here and, you know, when I play baseball, I'm just gonna do what I do, and hey, let the chips fall where they
Yeah,
may.
well, you hope so. I mean, you want to think that you've given that kind of money to a mature athlete, one that can handle the high profile performance, he's being paid an enormous amount of money, and then he can go out and perform. Now, is he going to perform perfectly every day? No, probably no. He's not going to do that, but he's going to always perform on a high level. If he's capable of doing that, then there's my guy from California. That's my boy. I knew I'd hear from him before the night was over. He's 2 hours
You gotta,
behind, but he caught up
you
with me.
gotta have those
He
guys come
got
on
me.
the show, Vince. You gotta have them come on the show,
Oh man,
man.
they can tell you stories about us, not just a rivalry, but the rivalry with us, what we've gone through. But anyway, back to that kind of guy signing that kind of money. Um, you hope he's mature enough to deal with it. He doesn't let it affect him. He finds job security so he can go out and perform at his highest level. That's what you're hoping for. You try not, to give that kind of money to a young player because it might just completely throw him off track. I think you have to earn that. I think you have to earn that kind of money. And if a player has earned it, give it to him. Pay him. Pay him the big bucks. But he
Did
has
you
to have earned it.
did you pay any attention to the NBA All Star Weekend at all? Did you catch anything?
Not not really. I watched a little bit of the basketball, watched a little bit of the slam dunk and some of the shooting. Not really. I like it, but I'm not enthused by it per se. I'm overwhelmed by it. So I watched a little bit of it, not a lot.
I watched
The,
a little bit of the dunk contest. I mean, I had the two TVs on, and eventually I would look up to see because I was doing something and I saw some of it, but I didn't see
mhm.
any of the game at all. I mean, I got a problem. I think we talked about it last year that when they came up with Team LeBron and Team Steph or Team whatever, I got a problem with that. Man. That don't even sound right. I don't. That's just something wrong with that. I don't know.
Well,
It just turns me off. I don't know what it's
I'm
like.
not a fan.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
I'm not a fan.
Team
The thing
LeBron,
that
team, you know,
the
whatever.
thing
It's
that
just like I thought it's supposed to be East versus
confuses
West.
me.
I don't get that. I mean, I get what they're trying to
I'm
do, but it's
confused.
just like I don't know. It's just weird to
I'm
me.
confused why we pick Team LeBron every year. He's not winning. Why does he have to have a team? Guinness from Milwaukee makes sense. They're leading in their division and all that. The Lakers are not doing anything. He had been out hurt. Why is it Team LeBron? That's marketing.
Oh
That's
yeah,
taking
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
name
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
putting
I
it
mean,
out
I
there.
get that part.
While I have a great appreciation for that, and personally, that's one of the reasons I don't watch because I don't think he earned it. We're just doing it to get people to watch, and I'm not mad for those who and that do watch, but for me, it's not a drawing card. It's a reason why I don't watch because I want you to honor somebody who okay, because that's what the All Star thing is about. Is taking the players playing at the highest level right now. And you put Dirk Nowitzki and you put Dwayne Wade, and I thought that was nice to put them in. They're ending their careers. Great way for them out. Okay, let them be on the All Star. I thought that was great marketing. I thought that was
Right.
just good PR. Um, um, but this team LeBron every year, well, what has he done to earn that? Now, if his team was leading his conference, or he was a number one scorer or something like that, I could buy that. But he was none of the above. Why him? Why
Well,
couldn't it have been somebody else? But that's a turn off for me. Now people will say, "Well, you're a LeBron hater." Okay, I hope I'm not, but I'm just saying for me, that's a preference that I have. I don't think I'm a LeBron hater. I'm not a huge fan of LeBron, but I'm not a hater. But when you look at that, though, why don't you honor somebody else? He's done his. He's got his. He wasn't. He to me didn't deserve to have that this year. But if it got people to watch and it took care of what they wanted to do and it got people butts in seats, go for it. I'm okay. Oh, when you got viewership, then I'm happy for you. But you didn't get mine.
Now,
And that
you heard on the
I'm sure
radio.
that doesn't make any difference to anybody. But still, uh, for me personally, I chose not to watch.
Now, I heard on the radio today, they were talking on the radio, and the question that they was asking among themselves was, is that if Anthony Davis does not go to the Lakers, his move to the Lakers might be a bust. And it's a very good chance that he will not make the playoffs this year. So if Anthony Davis does not go, it's looked like Kawhi, based on their conversation, would prefer to go to the Clippers. They're saying, well, this move that he made to the Lakers may not have been a good move for him as far as trying to reach another championship. It may be a good move for him outside of basketball, but you know they're gonna have that conversation anyway because I mean, what the heck? I mean, LeBron is fine. I mean, you know, it's not like he's like waking up going like, darn, you know. I mean, this life is great. So, you know, but from a basketball point of view, when it comes to going back to the NBA Finals and having a chance to win an NBA championship, I guess what they're saying is that there's a very good chance. Well, not there is a chance, not a very good. There is a chance that Davis will not go to the Lakers. And what happened then?
Well, the opportunity for that to happen right now through the conventional methods, eh, it won't happen because the trade deadline has passed. They could. It was had to be several teams involved buying out of contract because the Hawks made a deal to send Jeremy Lin to another team after the trade deadline, but they bought him out. They agreed to a buyout, and then they bought him out and made him a free agent, and then he could sign. That was a great way to do that. That's not going to happen with Anthony Davis. And what Anthony Davis has said, and this was a premature move that the Lakers decided to try to get that next top player now for this year, as opposed to being patient and waiting to next year, which was originally their plan. What Davis had said, that he was willing to, he wanted to be moved, and I think that was predicated on interest from the Lakers, and he was willing to go to any other team. And at one time, he was saying that he would go to all teams were on his list, and he was only going to sign a 1 year contract because eventually he wanted to go on out and play for the Lakers. That may change now. Instead of him signing with any other team, they may be able to do something direct with him at the end of the season. The difficulty I felt would be how did his teammates feel that he wanted to get out. Uh, and I think there's two ways to look at that. Some players will feel like it's a business. Hey, you got to do what's best for you. Others would feel abandoned. It appears as though that his teammates have said, "Hey, you paid your dues. If you want to go, go. If you're gonna stay, just come on and play," which I think is a very mature way to look at it. Magic Johnson conversation with some of the players that were to be traded, that were involved in that trade. Some of them felt a little salty, but he said, "Hey, listen, this is a business, and you're athletes. They'll get over it," which in a sense is true. It's about business. It's not about hey, this is the deal. You're a part of it. Now the fact that it didn't happen, he now got to go back and face them and tell them, yeah, you were on the trade block and you still are. If the right opportunity come, I'll trade you tomorrow. But that's life in the NBA. That's you get paid the big bucks. So that's part of it. So I think it's a mature way to look at it. Now we don't all look at it through a mature set of eyes, obviously. But
Right.
that's how it's played. I think Davis now just go ahead on and just play out the rest of his contract throughout finish this year, and then we'll see what happens this summer, because this summer is going to be huge because a lot of free agent players going to be available. A lot of teams have been saving their money for this battle for this summer. But this summer is going to be huge. You're going to see some mega deals out there this summer.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. They were saying that probably this summer,
Mm-hmm.
because they're probably going to try to move it. That they try to move
I
that.
would. I mean, if he wants
Oh
to go,
yeah,
let him go.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't think Kawhi is going. I don't think Kawhi is leaving Toronto myself. I mean, I could be wrong. Just me and my intuition. I mean, I'm just taking a guess. Especially because they're doing very well up there.
Hmm.
The Clippers are doing well too. Don't get me wrong. The Clippers are doing well, but I mean, they're building that team up there around Kawhi, and it's working for them. And I tend to believe he may not want to leave that, but you never know. You never know. He may ultimately want to be out there in LA as well. So and they say they're going to add two big time players to go along with what they have, that being LeBron and the rest of the team. So you don't know. I don't see a reason to do it, but I'm not in their shoes. But I don't.
Well,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. But
well, because now LeBron is on the downside. That was one of the things they were saying, that his his window is closing slowly. Well, of course,
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
the thing
yeah.
is, it's so funny about how they start having these conversations about these athletes, because he is on the downside. But
Sure he
the
is.
the way they have these conversations is like they're not supposed to be a downside. It's like you're supposed to be young and play forever, or play on that level forever,
Father
and
Time
that
don't play that.
it's a crazy conversation to have. You know,
Yeah,
when
Father
you
Time. Father
35,
Time.
when you 35, you're not
It just don't happen.
23. It's
Well,
just like,
you also
but
got to look at his move to LA was more about business than it was basketball. Basketball was a ticket to the other business side of what he's doing. I think Anthony Davis, I really believe that's part of his move too. He already bought a home out there in California, in the LA area. So I think it's business as much as it is basketball. He's a little bit younger. He's got some more years to put in. And if they could do something really quick, that would be great. I'm sure that's what they're looking for. But I do believe when you go to the LA market, it can't just be basketball. It's got to be, because there's so much more out there. And these young guys are entrepreneurs. They got some business interests. They got smart heads on them. Some of them don't. But I think Davis is one of those. I know certainly LeBron's idea was to get into the marketplace where he could do some of the other things he wanted to do. And LA, I mean, it's one of the best places to be. That could be Davis's move, to be out there, to be exposed to that. If he doesn't have anything, he can get something started. Kawhi, not sure. He's such a close to the vest type guy. I don't know what his motives would be, other than to play on a championship team. But that's what he's doing right now. Well, championship caliber team. That's what he's doing right now. So I don't know. You never know. And then you got people behind the scenes pulling strings, making decisions. Some of these athletes are not really making their own decisions. They're being influenced in their decisions, or being suggested that here's a better move for you to make, or they have their own agendas. Sometimes you don't know. But it's always interesting. Always interesting.
I wanted to ask you about who you think may come out of the East. But before I ask you that, before forget, and I forgot to ask you this last week, but did you see the story on Kaepernick on well, it looks like they settled out of court, I guess, on his lawsuit. They also say that
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple of teams that are interested in maybe signing him. But did you see the story about the gentleman who decided not to sell the Nike jerseys because of what Nike
Yeah.
did with him, but then his
Yeah.
store is gone out of business? So he said he may
Yeah.
have underestimated the sale, or he may have made a stupid move by pulling Nike off the shelf. So now his store has gone out of business. Did you see
I,
that story?
I did read. I did read some of that. I stopped reading it at a certain point, started laughing, so I felt there was no need to read any further. I knew exactly what he had done, and I think that's where you get your emotion caught up in your business sense. You got, I mean, it's being a fan, and then it's being a businessman. I mean, I can be a fan, and maybe I don't want to buy you. I don't want to wear your jersey. I don't want to buy your jersey. But if I'm a jersey seller, I'm in the retail business and I'm selling NFL stuff, I carry your stuff in my store. I may not like you. I may not own one personally, but if it's selling, I got it in my store. And Nike is being as big as Nike is, the impact, the market share that it has, that's he made an error. That was a dumb decision. You bigger than Nike. You one store, because you don't
Yeah,
sell Nike goods, you're gonna
yeah, because
pull
he
off.
been there like 20
Okay,
years.
all
Been
right.
there 20
Then
years.
I give him $100,000 in business, and Nike makes 100 million. I don't know. We look at the numbers and we say, okay, so we lost you. So what? So I thought that was a bad decision. In my opinion, he lets emotions take over his businesses.
Well, he said it was a bad decision.
Yeah,
I mean, in the reading I read, he
he
said, "Well, yeah,
should.
yeah, it was a bad decision."
Yeah. I mean, the evidence in the book, he don't have to say it now, it's obvious.
He should have been stocking those darn jerseys back up as soon as
I'd,
he saw
I'd have
these
been,
darn sales going down. He should have been stocking those Nike jersey back up in there.
I would have, I'd have asked now, can I get an extra shipment, or whatever you got going on.
You know,
Uh,
and
you,
and a buy one get one free.
Whatever. Yeah, you're not kidding. I get where he's coming from, because I've read a lot of people who were in opposition to that, and all of that. And I don't know. It depends upon how you feel about it, what side of the fence you land on. But I felt like Nike couldn't lose. Nike could not lose. I thought they made a strong statement, regardless of whether it was something they truly believed in, which I want to believe they believed in order, or they just did it because great marketing. Either way, they're gonna win. They're gonna win,
Right.
and they won. Now I think it helps cabinet that they came out and supported him, because that was a huge move. It could have backfired on him to
Right.
a degree. I don't think it would have put him in bankruptcy by any means, but it could have been a moral uprising, which it was for what, a week. After a while, then people thought, man, give me a jersey. They might not have bought a cabinet jersey, but they did what Nike wanted to do. They bought a Nike jersey or a Nike product, and that's all they were doing. They were using
Right.
cabinet as a means to market their product. And you mad with them, and I'm not going to buy any Nike. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's wonderful. We're excited about that. We disappoint you and we'll miss you. But they're gonna they keep producing them. Now, what's out there now? Everybody buying Nike. I
Right.
was in a Nike store the other day, and you would thought they were giving that stuff away, and there was no sale to be seen. No sale to be seen. It was just because that's what drew me to the store. I said, got to be a sale in this bad boy. Clearance, and you know how they got those shoes in the back of the place.
Oh yeah.
That's all they had, and everything else was marked up regular price. And people, I said, is it? Did I miss the memo or what? But so I mean, it's an interesting move he made, but a dumb move.
Oh, now it's funny because see now I understand what you're saying because his shoe broke.
Yeah, his shoe blew open, came apart.
Oh, okay. So that's
So
why he said that.
the shoe company now, they wanted exposure. They now have it.
And I know you saw Barack at the game, right?
Yeah, Barack was there. Spike Lee was there. There's quite a few celebrities made the trip to Durham. I was kind of surprised that Barack went down there, but because he's living up in Washington. But yeah, Barack. Well, one of Barack's bag man, they used to call. That's what they called it. The body man. His body man. That's the guy who always travels with him, handles his personal affairs, luggage. I mean, he's truly a body man. That's the guy closest to him than his bodyguard.
Right.
Was a Duke, was from Duke. And when I heard about him going, I was thinking, well, okay, Barack. But then I thought, oh, okay, wait a minute, that's your man, that's your boy. Your boy probably hooked him up, and he went down there. And I thought that, because Barack's a huge basketball fan, and the NBA and FIBA are putting together in 2020 an African NBA league, and
Oh, really?
Barack's going to be involved. Is going to be involved in that as well. So I don't know what his role would be. I don't know if he's to be a commissioner or he was part of that. So they said. I don't know to what degree, but it's been proposed, pretty much a given. It's going to take place in 2020. So
Wow.
that's going to be interesting, because there's an awful lot of kids that I hear from through Facebook, email, who want to send me, information about playing. They want to come to the States to play basketball. I'm 7'1" and blah, 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 blah. And then, so now instead of them trying to come here, they're going to bring the game to them.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really
Alrighty
kind of
then.
excited about that. That's a great move. That's
Yes.
a real good move.
Man, man, Vince, we got to find somebody to talk to have them come on the show to talk about that.
Yeah, because that could be because the NBA also started this grassroots youth program that really has not taken off, and I don't know whether it's because they have abandoned it or what. Because when they first put this initiative out, they were using community people to help get it together. So I wrote a letter and tried to introduce midnight basketball at that time too, because I felt that midnight basketball was doing exactly what you were talking about doing. We didn't get myself and Don Rudling with YBOA, we both kind of came together and said, hey, this is what we do. We presented it, two different factions, but the same concept, dealing with young athletes, youth in the neighborhood. We talked about how long we've been around. I could specifically speak to midnight basketball being in the community, the same place you want to start. We didn't get a response. Then they went to the collegiate level and put some of the college coaches involved. Coach K from Duke was one of them, and they had several others. Still have not heard anything about it. I don't know whether it died out, whether it abandoned the idea or what, but I thought it would be great to have something with the NBA's name on it. But
Mm-hmm.
it appears as though they went a different direction because I haven't heard anything else about that.
Okay. Well, quickly, again, we didn't get a chance to do our 3 minute sprint, but
Yeah.
quickly, I wanted to ask you about the East in the NBA. They're talking about Milwaukee,
Hmm.
Boston. Jersey been playing some really great ball
They,
lately.
they have. They have been playing some better basketball.
And I'm trying to think who else is strong in the East.
Let me
Who,
see here.
and we know that it's not the Knicks.
Well, the Knicks, no, it's too early for the Knicks.
uh,
The,
uh,
Knicks-
are
the
the Knicks
Knicks.
tanking?
Well,
They've
the
been
Knicks are
tanking the
doing with
entire
a
season.
young. They, I don't think they're going to tank it, but I don't think there's much they can do about it right now. They just, yeah, they brought on a new, they brought Fizdale in. Supposedly they've made a commitment to him, and he's made a commitment to the team, and the team is committed. It's going to take them a minute. They've got, draft choices. They got to do some trading. They were playing inspired ball for a while, but it kind of seemed like it kind of fell off. And I really don't think they're tanking. I just think they may end up in the bottom, not because they chose to, but just because they will be. But they're trying to make it destination basketball again, and there are several players who would like very much to go back there. Uh, for the nostalgia, I think of it all is one of the reasons they want to go. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I mean, it won't be the Knicks. I really like what Milwaukee's done. I think Milwaukee has come along really strong. But I was favorite. I always thought the favorite was Boston because of what they had. They went on a skid for a minute. I
Right,
think the NBA will resume play tomorrow.
right.
They're back in the second half of the season. That's when you're going to see. I think the picture gets clearer then because now they understand. Hey, it's time to knuckle down. We're playing for position now. How do we finish and that kind of thing. So I think that's coming up. So right now, I think it's Boston, Milwaukee,
Okay.
top two teams.
All right. Well, you're going to give us an update on your games next week. And
Well,
again,
yeah, we'll let you know how we do in regionals. We finished the district at number 2 in the district. I'll take it with 23-6, I think. No, 7, 23-7. Not bad record. Not bad. 20-game season. We're trying to get 25 in the season. 25 wins. We had that last year. We were 25-7. So we've
okay.
got a big challenge this weekend um, to play these two teams. Play this one team on Friday is very critical for us. But this is what it's all about. We're at that stage of the game, that time of the year, when this is what you work for. This is what summer basketball was about, is to get to this point, and we have a great opportunity to reach that goal. So we're pushing forward really hard. So I'll be glad to update you. We'll update you with win or lose. Uh, we'll bring you the agony of defeat, or the joy of celebration, one of the two.
All right. Okay, with that, we know that they're gonna play hard if they don't do anything else because
Absolutely.
Coach
They're
Carter
going to play hard.
is in the
Yeah,
house.
they're going to play hard. They're going to play hard. That's a game. That's a given. That's a
All
given.
right. All right. Well, you make sure that you keep warm and be
Hey,
safe and looking forward to the update.
keep that rain and stay dry. Try to stay dry.
All right. Well, I'm Charles Morse with the original Coach Carter, where we come to you right here at www.youthcentralsports.com, where we're live on Facebook, Periscope, and Twitter. Make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Blessings to you. Enjoy the rest of your week.
God bless.